Before I even start, I just want to thank the Lord because, and this has been kind of an emotional weekend for me. Even yesterday, the ladies will tell you I started out the women's meeting this way, but I've watched the people putting these together and listened to what's happened. And God is so good because when we forgive people, the forgiveness is for us, not always for the other person. And honoring our parents, it's not always for them either. Sometimes it's for us too, because when we do what God asks us to, He always blesses us, and I thank Him for that. When I think of my mom, I'm filled with memories of all the little gifts that she gave me throughout the years. Things that she might not even remember, and yet they made a lasting impression on me. My very first memory of my mom, I was about 2.5 years old, and we were in an old car. I even remember it had the bars down the middle of the windows, so that ought to tell you how old it was. I was with my older brother and my dad, and we were waiting outside of a hospital for her. I was real young, and other than the fact that it's my first memory, it doesn't really have much meaning other than that. I'm the oldest daughter in a family of 7 children, so the things I'm sharing about my mom are from my perspective. The other children might see things from a different light. But being the oldest daughter, I had a lot of responsibility growing up in a large family. But these are some of the things I remember. My mom sang a lot to us when we were kids. She had taught us all kinds of songs from the Midwest because she was a Midwesterner from Missouri. And with that little southern twang, we learned things like "Come Take a Trip in My Airship," the Texas Plains with a little yodeling in it, which I won't do that today for you. And there was another one, "Oh, I'll never forget the day that I was born. It was on a very cold and frosty morn. The doctor said I was a chubby chap, but then the nurse, she took me on her lap. Oh, she bathed me all over, I remember. And then after powder puffing me, you see, she put me in the cradle by the window, in the little shirt that mother made for me." Remember that one, Mom? Well, there were many, many more. Between her and my dad, our home was full with all kinds of music. What a beautiful gift. Thanks for the gift of song. She was a creative mom. I remember one Easter, she blew the egg whites and yolks out of dozens of eggs just to make us a beautiful Easter tree. And a beautiful tree it was. She sewed clothes for us, costumes for us to play in. In fact, one year she made my brother Rob a Superman costume. And he roamed all around the neighborhood for years thinking he was Superman, and he was saving everyone. He'll tell you that story too. Thanks for being a creative mom and teaching us to dream. There was a time when I was around 10 years old that I remember I desperately wanted to buy a hula hoop. Do you remember them? In fact, I still saw them in the store the other day. They cost about $1 back then. And, you know, rather than just give me the money, which she really could have done, she taught me how to sew potholders. She was patient and skillful, and in no time I had made enough of them to sell in our neighborhood for 10 cents each, and I actually earned my own money to buy that hula hoop. Thanks, Mom, for teaching me the feeling of achieving on my own. Thank you for the gift of accomplishment. She was a feisty mom. She always liked to have a lot of fun. And one evening as we were sitting around the table, and it was always a little chaotic with 7 children, any of you that have big families can testify to that. Well, my dad was sitting there and he said, "Honey, would you please pass me the mashed potatoes?" Now, I don't know why or what came over her, but she picked up a very large spoon of mashed potatoes and slung-shot them all the way across the table where they landed splat, right in the middle of his head. You remember that, don't you? Yes. Thanks for being a good sport too, Dad. You know, that was good of you. And you know, I'm just going to add a quick little note here because I thought of it after I had written this. One year when I was picking up my children at elementary school on Knotty Oak Road when the school was still there, we had a very bad hailstorm. This was about 17 years ago, and the hail was about this big around. It was so huge. At that time, Gary was working for PRO, and the icon of the station was Rhodey the Rooster. And that day in my van, I happened to have this huge rooster costume with this huge papier-mâché rooster head. So I went to pick up the kids, and we couldn't figure out how we were going to get to the door to get the kids while this hail was coming down. So my mom put on the rooster head and ran to the school to get the kids out of the school. Well, my kids still remember that story. She was great. She was never afraid to do something to have a good time. Thank you, Mom, for the gift of laughter. Okay. It always hasn't been fun in songs and laughter, however. I've watched through the years as she went through many trials and losses with people she loved. Time and time again, she was there trying to help the best she knew how. Excuse me. I look at her pretty face, and I see a lady who did the very best she could. She loved people. She gave to us. And the things she gave me, I can never give back to her. And I thank her for those. Most of all, I thank God for a mom who knows Him and the confidence that one day we'll be together in heaven, where there'll be no more tears, no more trials. Thank you, Mom, for the music. Thank you for the laughter, for the encouragement, and your prayers, even when I couldn't pray. You are now and always will be a very important part of who I am, and I love you. Happy Mothers. Want to come up? I knew I was going to do this.